right, good morning, everyone. I'm Tori Mathis, the Director of Communications, and here I have with me today is Matt Koehn, our Public Safety and Chief for the City of Berkeley. How are you doing today, Chief?
Good, Tori. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm glad that you could meet with me today. Really, what I kind of wanted to sit down and chat with you about is now that we've finished the first phase or phase and a half of our budgeting process, we'd like to share with the public and the community about like what goes into us as city administration planning and forecasting out what goes on as we make budget choices and how we plan for the future. So really, I just kind of wanted to kick it off and have you kind of talk about, you know, where's public safety at? What are your goals and what are you guys looking to achieve this year?
Well, Tori, you know, I kind of call me weird, but I kind of like the budget process because it really is. The budget is a planning document. You actually, you know, we're all busy. We all have a lot of things going on, but this is a time where we dedicate to sit down, both in the public safety department with our personnel, but citywide, that we plan for the future. And like I said, we actually have to do it. And where everybody's busy and other times, sometimes it's kind of an afterthought. So, you know, we typically try to plan out several years in advance. I know we have a 2-year budget, but we also try to think out even further ahead, equipment replacement, some of our major projects. So, you know, to answer your question, this year, we have a couple big things planned. We have our mock accreditation visit here in April. And then we're looking for our accreditation visit and hopefully be accredited sometime in May or June. So we've got a lot going there, and you know, a lot of projects going on. We were fortunate enough to get the funding to implement a body worn camera program, which we're also starting in April, and that's a reoccurring cost that we think is worth it, and that city management and city council does too, which we're really happy for because we've been looking to do that for quite a while. So we have a lot of projects, a lot of things we're looking at doing in the future. You know, I had a boss at Farmington Hills where I came from who said, you know, you have to sometimes you have to spend money to save money, where we try to do things right the first time rather than, you know, just kind of throw some money at something, fix it a little bit, and have to go back next year or 2 years or even 5 years from now to fix it. So I like to say, this when the policies will implement also, but also in our projects, we can't be a year or two ago. We can't even be now. We need to be in the future. Our policies and our projects can't reflect what happened in the past or even what's happened now. We have to project into the future and be prepared for the future. So that's what we really try to do our best to be prepared for the future here.
Sure, and thank you. That's very insightful. And I guess I wanted to jump back a little bit because for those that are watching this, can you kind of expand a bit more on the accreditation process and why you guys have chosen to go through the accreditation process and what that means from the community engagement side?
Sure. We have implemented. Let me back up a little bit. We've really worked on getting the best practices, and this is on the law enforcement side. So this is still just dealing with police. It's through the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, and it's basically there's 105 standards that we have to meet, and those are best practices. That's everything from records retention to record storage to use of force to pursuit. It's really a wide gamut. So you know, quite honestly, we started updating our policies. We're floundering a little bit, spending hours and hours on one policy. So this really gave us a focus we needed. We have a couple different technology systems we use. One is Power DMS, the other one's Guardian Tracking, that really help us. So I can actually, on my phone, on my iPad, on my PC, on any mobile device, any of our officers can look at our policies and know exactly what they're supposed to do. And we just had a new public safety officer start on Monday, and I noticed he had like 500 or 350 documents waiting for him. Those aren't all policies. A lot of those are just reference material. And so when we send out a policy, everyone has to physically sign for, I shouldn't say physically, virtually sign for it to acknowledge it. So it's really, we're looking at best practices in law enforcement. We really think we're doing things right, and we try to do it right, but this also gives us the focus on some things. You know, quite honestly, you don't think about it at a smaller law enforcement agency. So basically, to sum it up, it's a best practice for law enforcement. So that is, and that really has been, I think we're probably, we actually applied for accreditation last year, but really we've been working on this for 2 or 3 years. So we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we think we're just about ready for the first visit, which is again towards the end of April.
Yeah, sure. And I imagine that it's almost like a nice strategic guide to help you as you build and grow and expand. I imagine the body cam discussion came out of that. Obviously, with the climate of the world, that's definitely a factor. But having that reference to ensure that you're achieving those initiatives as law enforcement is valuable.
Exactly. And it gives us the guidance and the direction, and it's valid.
Yeah.
It validates our policies also.
Sure.
So we really think it's a huge step for, I want to say there's a total of about 110 law enforcement agencies involved in the process. Only about 55 have been accredited so far. So we're still on the, I guess, tip of the spear, for lack of a better term, for that, even though it's been in existence for 4 or 5 years now.
Sure. And this is just in the state of Michigan, correct?
Yeah, each state has their own, and in Michigan, it's through the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, and it's the Michigan Accreditation Association, I believe. But that is for Michigan. There is a national accreditation also, but we think this is the best fit for our department and for most departments.
Yeah, just given size and capacity, that makes sense. So kind of, diving into, and you brought up a good point earlier about, it's planning for the future, and then sometimes, it's spending more now to pay off in the end. And I guess I wanted to hear from your guys' side, operationally, what does that look like for you guys? We're talking about budget, yes, there are projects and we have our capital improvement plan, but there's just the operational side on just continuing normal day-to-day business. Can you talk about any goals that you guys are looking at from that perspective?
Yeah, it's. I think one of the big goals is taking care of what we have now. It's in order to the upkeep of the building is huge, and quite honestly, it wasn't always done like it should have been, in my opinion. So we're really working on that now. We replaced in the last several years, we've done a lot. We've replaced our generator, we replaced our roof. We had to put an extension on the fire hall in order to fit our new tower. We've completely renovated our dispatch center. We've renovated our break room. We're in the process of reorganizing and doing some work in our basement. We've recently implemented a fitness a wellness program, and we've redone our gym in the basement. We still have quite a bit more work to do there, but you talk about being proactive. Unfortunately, in our profession, we have in both the police, fire, and medical side, there's quite a few injuries. So whatever we can do, if we can be proactive and allow our officers to do some strength training and some cardio, even while they're working, to avoid some of the injuries, to where we have people. Then there's insurance. There's having to fill positions. So we're trying to do things like that. So it's really trying to get ahead of the curve for everything. I'm trying to think, our HVAC is due to replace. And I should point out, we are very, very thankful that we have a facilities manager now, because in the past, since I've been here up until just recently, we have myself or lieutenants running programs, which takes away from their primary function. And plus, anybody that knows me, I can barely start my car, let alone change oil, or I'm just not very mechanically inclined. It's difficult for somebody that doesn't have that background to run projects. So Alex has been great, and we're seeing things that are a lot smoother on our end.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you. And so, the big elephant in the room and the looming question, because I know we consistently talk about it at our directors' meetings and conversations since we've started the budget process this year, is the millage. for those watching, if you haven't checked out our website or our pages or anything like that, the city is going for a millage. It is to replenish, I'd say, our general operating and police fire fund, which is how we do our day-to-day operations for functionality. So with that being said, Chief, can you talk about how you guys have been anticipating or planning for said millage in both facets? Obviously, if it were to pass, the opportunities that would provide outside of just general operations and implementation, but also what the impacts would be. And I guess, we can talk about, since we don't have revenues yet and we're still waiting on the results from the March Board of Review, how has it impacted us thus far? I know in the past few conversations in the last few years, we've been deferring a lot of stuff. So I'd love to hear your insights on that perspective and how it impacts public safety and how you go into planning for budgetary items.
Sure. I will, like my first year here, when we were working on the budget, I told my boss, Mr. Baumgarten, I'm going to ask for what we think we need. I know that I'm one department of the city, and, Matt and the finance director, they have to, in city council, they have to look at the entire city. So, I'm only looking, and I said, I'm going to ask for what we think we need. If we don't have the money, okay, then we can't do it. So we're not going to pout, we're not going to whine, we're just going to do with what we have. So, we're team players, so we have pushed some things back. And I will be honest, when I would mention the facilities director, some of it was just, there were so many balls in the air, we couldn't juggle another one. We couldn't spend a lot of time doing the proper research, the proper, going out to bid and things like that. So, but we've pushed, for instance, a couple of years now, we've had, last year we did, or actually the current fiscal year we're in now, we didn't purchase any patrol cars. So you talk about saving money to spend money in reoccurring costs, so now our car's a little bit older, we're running into more vehicle maintenance, more issues, and not to be overly dramatic, if our equipment fails, people can get hurt, people can die. If we have a failure in some of our equipment, I've seen, even in my short 5.5 years here in Berkley, where if somebody would have been 30 seconds later, it could have been a lot different. So we try to take the best, we try to take care of our equipment, our buildings, but that costs money. I'm a homeowner, I'm a father, I've got a lot of kids, and we all know the price of everything are going up. Well, the prices here are going up too. Give you for instance, our engine is due to be replaced in fiscal year, I think it's 26, 27. Mm-hmm. That went from about $500,000 purchase up to closer to probably 800,000 now.
Wow.
So the prices, the more you push back stuff, the more they cost. I know there was a huge increase in our patrol vehicles that we use also. So we have pushed back some things. I do anything we need right away. I've had the support of the city manager and city council, so we've been able to do that. And then just like everything else, there are some projects that are beyond our control. We have. I'm thinking about dispatch right now. Okay. There's a hardware upgrade that costs the city about $55,000. We have no choice. We have to do that in order to and that's for receiving 911 calls. Right. Obviously, we have to receive 911 calls, so we need updated technology. We're in the process of switching over to a new radio system here in July, and we're getting probably $750,000 worth of equipment from Oakland County, but we also had to purchase close to about $150,000. So those are things we have to spend money on. So there is some discretionary spending, but a lot of what we do, we have to do it. It's the price of doing business, especially when we're doing all three disciplines. Being public safety, we do save the city a substantial amount of money doing all three, but that is three separate disciplines to have training, equipment, and be prepared for. So it's a struggle at times, but it's something we're dedicated and passionate about.
Sure. Yeah, no, and that's great. Thank you. Are there any other, you started to talk a little bit about projects that are necessary. You know, it, I'd love to just peel back the curtain a bit more and kind of talk about the idea of necessary versus a need. Because I think when most people think of public safety, everybody's like, well, nobody's going to get rid of public safety. So in the context of a millage with the revenue and the Headley row back, well, yes, no one's going to get rid of public safety, just kind of talking about the impacts that has towards your department, even though, there's some semblance of there's always going to be a public safety, it just might look different. Could you kind of talk about that perspective?
Sure. Yeah, and some of the stuff as a couple of I briefly touched on, but we're looking at for next fiscal year, hopefully spending about $50,000 on our fitness center and to do some upgrades in lighting and some kind of reorganization in our basement, because quite honestly, our basement right now looks like a basement. It's not really usable space. So we're trying to this building is, for the most part, it's original 1989 construction. So we're working on that. Our locker rooms, the original lockers are in there. The showers need to be replaced. There's quite a bit in both of our locker rooms we're looking to do here in the near future. I mentioned about body cameras. So body cameras, we are actually, like I said, here in April, we're switching over. We're implementing our body cameras, but we're also replacing our in-car cameras. We're also recently replaced our taser to the latest technology, and we also purchased a virtual reality training system to where it's more of a reality-based training, and it's kind of like the video games the kids play nowadays. It's a headset, and it's really to help with our de-escalation and decision-making. So that comes at a cost. That's about, we recently signed a 10-year contract for $100,000 a year, basically $100,000 a year. Well, that's a cost of doing business that we have, there's just no way, in this day and age, we've been wanting to implement a body worn camera program for a while. Well, now, we're going to be able to do that. And I have not talked to anybody in this department that is not 100% for body cameras.
Right.
I mean, everybody wants it. That has effects too. Right now we have a part-time FOIA technician who does all the redaction for reports in-car cameras. Well, now with body cameras, we anticipate that probably turning into a full-time job. So that's additional expense to the city. There's also, I talked about cars. We're hoping to catch up this year if we can.
Sure.
Kind of a little known fact too is typically after council approves our budget in May, we go before council to ask to purchase cars in June. Our cars that we purchased 2 years ago, the last ones just got in service here recently. It takes a year and a half to get cars in service. So my fear is, we, due to finances, we had to push back a couple cars to this year. What are our current fleet going to look like in a year and a half before these new cars are on the road?
On the road, yeah.
So that's the kind of things we think about. And really, we want to take care of we want to do things right, and we want to take care of the equipment and facilities that we've been entrusted with. So that's our big mission. So we have things planned out for 7 years. So in the capital improvement and capital equipment replacement plans. So and we leave things, even if it's something like our tower that we just purchased here a couple of years ago, that's still on that sheet to remember. 20 years from 2019, I think 2018, people need to think about that. I'm not so sure I'll still be here, but whoever's running the department. So we try to put the things that we need to replace. And like I said, we can't just think about now, we need to think about the future. So there's probably technology coming that we don't even know about yet, but so we have to be very fluid in how we respond to new technology and new techniques, new training.
Sure. And just even having that plan in place is probably valuable to plan with those unplanned things that might come down the pipeline. So knowing where that falls in the schedule is probably pretty valuable. If you get, per se, like an unfunded mandate or replacement radios from the county.
Exactly. And the good part is, so we've had our current system for, it's been 2010 and there's no radio system designed to go more than 10 years. This new system, and I've been fortunate enough to be part of the policy committee, and I'm on the radio oversight. So I've been involved from the very beginning. Our new system has a built-in self-funding for its own replacement, and it hasn't even started yet. So that's the kind of forward thinking that I like, and that I like to be involved in, to where you're planning for the future. So there's there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of balls in the air, but we have to make sure we're always planning, we're always thinking of the future, not just now.
Sure.
I've seen in local government a lot of times where you do it just good enough for now, and quite honestly, you're wasting the taxpayers' money. You can't do that. You have to be prepared for the future. And things come up. I'll give you an example. Our HVAC, which I know, we've been fortunate enough to get some, I believe, state and federal funding
Yes.
to pretty much replace the HVAC system citywide. Well, ours was down here for 4 days here recently, to where it was, it was in the 50s in the building, and we just put on sweaters, and because we didn't want to put any money into this system. Unfortunately, we had to put about $4,000 into our existing system just to limp it through the new one. But that's no way to do business. You want to do things right the first time. And I know, in our building, our generator right now cannot handle the AC. It's just we got the biggest generator we could, but our current AC system is so old that so this new system, the generator will also be able to power that, because our emergency operations center is in this building. And can you open windows and run fans? Yeah, but if you're running a major incident out of our station, we do want to we want to do things right.
Yeah, it's got to be a feasible and operational building. I totally get that. Yeah. Well,
because this is the only building. There's people here 24/7, 365. This building is never ever vacant. So there's always somebody here. So it's not like you can just tell people to stay home or work from somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. Well, with that, just because it's these comprehensive spurts that I'll be doing with the rest of the departments, I wanted to say that I appreciate your time. I know the residents will appreciate this information as well. It's great to have someone like you on at least those planning themes, not only for our city as a whole, but just looking at it from the county and state level. I know that, you and your team are planning, in the best ways and the most financially smart ways. So I wanted to say I appreciate your time. And if there's anything else you'd like to add before I sign us off.
Again, we really take the responsibility of being the shepherds of our facilities, our equipment, and the people that work for me. Mm-hmm. So rest assured, we're gonna do what's right, and we're gonna make the best use out of the funds that were allocated, no matter what it is. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it. But I take my job very seriously. I think we all do, and the public's safety is the most important thing to us. So that's what our mission is, and what our goal is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chief. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. For those tuning in, if you have any more information, or if you'd like to learn more about Berkley's Headley Override Millage, you can go to www.berkleymich.org/millage. Thanks.